Our next guest is a regular here on the show. He's been by a couple of times, and he's a shareholder at JacksonWhite Attorneys. How about a big round of applause for the one and only Mr. Otto Shill. Otto, come on up.
Don't wanna go to jail, don't wanna go to jail. I am innocent, don't wanna go to jail, don't wanna.
That is a striking headshot you've got there on the.
Oh dear.
I like
You know, Sean promised me music. He didn't play the music. He's still trying to figure it out.
I know. Were you trying to find like L.A. Law or one of those kind of music things? Yeah. It's early, Otto.
Yeah,
seriously.
it is.
We'll add that in post-production. On TV, it's going to look great.
That's right.
Well, good to have you here, Otto. I don't know if I've ever told you this, but you're my favorite palindrome.
Okay,
Do you know what a palindrome is?
I do.
Go ahead and tell us.
I just don't like it when people spell my name backwards.
It's a palindrome is when you spell something backwards.
My name's spelled O-T-T-O.
Some of the people pulling out scrap paper.
We're gonna have to get you a new script writer.
No. It's just, hey, you know what? My jokes were a lot funnier, and then the government shutdown eliminated a lot of my joke writers. So here we got to just deal with what the hand you're dealt. Speaking of growing up in Mesa, I know not only are you from Mesa, but geez, you've got a long Shill family history here in the Valley.
Yeah, that's true. We showed up in 1880 down in Lehigh.
I like that. We showed up. we were gonna go further, but we just said, what the heck, and we stopped here. Well, cool. Well, tell us a little bit about yourself. What's a little-known Otto Shill fact? Got any hobbies?
A number of them, but
Any that you can share in public?
I'm building a sailboat and an airplane right now, so.
Really?
Yeah.
Are you expecting bad things to happen?
No, I'm almost done and I'm just gonna go play.
In the event of a quick getaway, I'm going to Otto's house. I like the way you cover all the bases, sailboat and a plane.
No.
Cool, well are you a licensed pilot?
I am. I like to fly.
Sure, and it helps to have a plane.
It works out better that way.
Yeah, it does. Well, hey, I know there's all kinds of stuff going on legally. You know, maybe you can talk to us about something that, I don't think we've heard enough about lately. Do you have any opinions on the Affordable Care Act? You hardly hear anything about that.
That's true. Do I have an opinion about it?
I mean, tell us what's going on. Where does it stand, and what does it bode for all of us, not just here, but also watching at home, considering a lot of these folks are small business people? There's going to be impacts.
Sure. Well, the Affordable Care Act is sort of a three-legged milk stool. The decision has been that everybody in the nation should have some sort of health insurance. To make that happen, it takes required money, right? So if individually we don't have health insurance, we pay a tax penalty. If as an employer you don't offer health insurance, you pay a penalty. If you don't offer the right kind of insurance, you pay a penalty. And if you happen to be an insurance company, you pay a great big premium tax. So those three legs of the milk stool force everyone to buy insurance, force the insurance companies to sell the insurance, and force the employers to provide the insurance. Right now, what you're hearing about most in the news is the requirement that everybody have insurance. So the whole furor over the website that may or may not work is about people having to acquire insurance, because January 1st, everybody has to have health insurance. And so that's what's going on right now.
I think the website's going to start working better because there's going to be 6 new laptops at the Boys and Girls Club. That will actually be a portal into the Healthcare Act.
I did hear an important tip today. If you go on the website and you need to buy insurance, and assuming you get to the part where you can select the plan you want, you have to double click. If you single click, it will sit there and it won't tell you where to go next. So,
I see some people nodding. Have you been down that road? Have you done that? Oh, cool. All right. See, look at the things you learn at Mesa Morning Live. When in doubt, double click. Quick question for you. We've all heard laughter's the best medicine. Mm-hmm. and I provide laughter, does that technically, as a lawyer, would you say I'm a healthcare provider?
Well,
And are there any tax benefits to this?
if you reach that conclusion,
Good, I got 3 flags.
if you reach that conclusion, remember the statute's 1,000 pages long, and at least a third of it is the Department of Health Service regulating healthcare providers. So,
Wow. Have you read the ACA?
I have. It's riveting.
Couldn't put it down?
I've also read my life insurance policy, if that matters to you.
Wow. So you are a wild man, Otto Shill.
Scary, isn't it?
So, do you have any advice? I mean, this is our initial consultation. We're all wanting to get some free advice from a prominent attorney. What would you tell these folks if they're a small business person? What do they need to know?
Well, I think the first thing is there's a dividing line. If you have more than 50 employees, you could be subject to taxes. Your job for the next year is measuring who your employees are, how many you have, and comparing your insurance cost for buying insurance to the penalty cost so that you can make good economic decisions and understand what you have to do with your employment force. You also have to consider how you organize your company and how you organize your employees to comply with or plan to avoid the requirements and the penalties. If you have less than 50 employees, you have one job. That is, get ready to write a far bigger check than you were writing before. You don't have the penalties, but one thing that I think everybody expects is that the cost for insurance is going to increase. One of the requirements of the Affordable Care Act is that the insurance that people have to purchase has to have minimum essential coverage, which means there's a whole laundry list of things that it has to do. So Mark has to be covered for pediatric, dental, and abortions.
Thank God.
Good. This list of coverage items that are now required are going to cost more in the marketplace. And so what we're going to see, I think, over time is a fundamental change in the products that are available. So one planning tip that we talk to people about is it may be a wise thing to look for insurance now that will lock you in for another year so that you have some time to see how all of this works its way through the system and what changes will be made.
So basically you're saying buy some time, kind of postpone the inevitable, but it's
coming.
You know, I'm just a simple guy. I'm not the smartest guy here, but it seems to me like if you had 48 employees, rather than looking at a way to expand your business, which would take people off the unemployment rolls, now your people are just going to stay put. Does that make sense?
That's certainly what people are considering. We've had discussions with people about changing their businesses, dividing their businesses up. You've seen some companies going to part-time workforces. The reason they're doing that is that the penalties are calculated based on full-time employees. And so in some cases you can use that sort of a shift to change. None of that's very good for employees. So the issue becomes, does the tail begin to wag the dog, and do we see the economy suffer because of the changes? So we'll see.
So if I liked my plan, do I get to keep my plan?
Well, Mark, what we've said is, I think the answer ultimately has to be no, because no one will sell you your plan.
Yeah.
Right? The marketplace will fundamentally change because of the requirements, and it just isn't economically effective for an insurance company to design a plan that's not compliant and a bunch of plans that are compliant. And so I don't think you'll be able to buy what you had. And that's part of the complaint you're seeing now. You'll see on the news people saying they've lost their coverage. Well, what's happened is they aren't able to buy what they had before, and that's the problem.
Yeah, my plan has changed. It's going to be about $700 a month more for just my wife and I. But I think it's worth it, because anytime you can get the IRS more involved in your life, To me, that's a fair
You know,
trade-off.
they're very helpful.
Yeah, absolutely.
I could introduce you to your own agent if you'd like to.
I'm on the run. Thank you, Otto. Well, I know you could talk about this for hours, and unfortunately, we don't have that much time. Does anybody have a quick question for Otto? You know, if you do it outside these walls, he charges you for it. Susan.
What justification does the government
Here we go. We got to.
requiring that? Oh, excuse me. What justification does the government come forth with that you have to have, if you're 70 years old, you have to have an OBGYN coverage for pregnancy?
Well, the justification is that the statute was passed and the Supreme Court says it's constitutional. So right now, it's the law of the land. There are a lot of efforts right now to change that, but for the time being, that's kind of where we're sitting.
Yes, Craig's got another question.
I suspect Congressman Salmon may have something to say about that.
I bet he's aware of this whole thing, this whole little brouhaha. Yes, Craig.
So, Otto, would you think that the members here should investigate the ACA compliant insurance program sponsored by the Chamber as an alternative?
Why, yes, Craig. The card up in the back said yes.
All right, great. Well, like I said, I know this is there's so many layers to this, and it's like an onion. Every time you pull a layer off, you keep finding more stuff in there. We don't have time today to go through all this, but thank you so much for coming in. And I know if anybody has any questions once we leave here, can they contact
please call me. I will tell you the one thing that you should be doing is looking at your demographics and planning ahead. There are measurement periods, your tax consequences, your coverage consequences will depend as employers on what happens to you during 2014. So it's pretty important to look at this way ahead of time, and at least you'll know. I had a conversation with a client just the other day about the financial consequences of having to comply one way or the other, and it made an important difference to their bottom line. That's not something you want to do in the last month or two. So
plan ahead.
plan ahead.
Well, thanks, Otto. We appreciate you coming by. And you know what? Because you're a regular here, we've decided to come up with a fun little way to send you out the door, so to speak. So, you know, Sean's got a lot of time on his hands. I think he's created a little send-off, so check the screen out here. This will be the new...
I'm a lawyer.
Hey, do that again and bump up the volume on this. I think this would be a good card for you, Otto. Up,
I
maybe?
get one of those electronic cards.
Up.
Nope.
I'm a lawyer.
Otto Shill.